All right, and welcome back to Beer Banter Brewcast. I am the host, Steve Johnson, and I don't know if you noticed, your screen is not wrong. I do have way less hair than last time. Um, Quick update is I shave my head every spring for a charitable cause for research for childhood cancer. I've been doing it 5 years. Super proud moment this year was my son joined in. He's 7. And he on his own wanted to do it, so we did it, and that's the update. So that's why I look a little different. Um, Luckily, it's a fairly normal looking head, and I don't have a stewy head. But the reason why I'm back and the reason why you're here is because you want to hear about beer. And the beer that we're talking about today is, well, what we're talking about today is going to be women in beer. Um, because without women in beer, we wouldn't have beer. They played a very important role in brewing, beer making, in the beer industry in general. Um, yeah, so let's dive into it. I'm gonna do a little different today. I think I'm gonna start. We're gonna try the beer first, and then we'll talk about some interesting things about women in beer that you might not have known. You might know, and then maybe I can give you a little list of some breweries maybe near you that you can check out and support local women in beer, either owners or brewmasters. So yeah, so let's see. First, the beer that we're going to try today is Lady Justice, which is locally here in Colorado. Women owned, women brewed. This is their pale lager. It's their ski jorts. It's pretty hilarious. If you can see, it's got denim on here. I probably own a few pair of jorts. Um, Mine are more khaki though. They go better with the green New Balance, green faded green New Balance. Um, yeah, so this one is 4.8%. I mean, it's pale lager. It's easy drinker. These guys are these ladies. These ladies are out of Inglewood, Colorado. Um, yeah, so let's try it. That's part of the day. Is if you can hear, this is the ASMR for all you people on audio. That sound never gets old. That sound never gets old. All right, so let's see what we got going on here. All right. I mean, definitely light, super light in color, but it's a pale lager. It's supposed to be. Ooh, don't overflow it, Steve. Jeez Louise. All right. So as you can see, this thing is super bright, very clean, very crisp looking, very light pale straw. Um, Amazing head on that thing. Let's see. I mean, it smells great. Smells like I'm gonna drink 20 of these things. All right, let's try it. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great beer. Easy drinker. Like I said, gonna drink 20 of them while I'm mowing the yard, landscaping, whatever, out and about. Um, this would be a good pool beer. Yeah, all around good beer. Solid job. Good job, ladies, over at Lady Justice. All right. So that's that. I'm just gonna sip on this the rest of this episode if that's okay with you guys. If it's not, I guess you're watching the wrong show. Um, so let's talk about a couple fun facts about women in beer. Um, I didn't memorize all these because there's a lot. Let's see. Let's start out with since 7000 BC, they've been making fermented beverages, which has led to beer. The oldest women-owned brewery is Moosehead Brewery in Canada. Um, the ancient Sumerian goddess, female deity that watched over brewing was Ninkasi, which you've probably heard of that brewery before. Um, Burkina Faso, women in Burkina Faso, they would make sorghum beer, uh, and that's been going on for 5,500 years. So a little bit longer than Coors and Anheuser-Busch. Um, some influential women. Obviously, we have Susanna Oland. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but she's the one that started Moosehead. Um, Pre-Columbian Andean women, they would chew maize and cassava and quinoa, and their saliva would help start fermentation. And they would make chicha, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is they still make it today, but it's like a early form of Latin style beer. It's been made, I mean, thousands of years. They've been making it like that. To this day, you can still go in a lot of Central and South America places and get chicha. Um, they might not all still chew it though to get it started, but they still make it similar all across Central and South America. Um, Fun fact: midwives used to brew high grav beer, really strong beer, for like anesthesia for pregnant women. Hey, instead of a shot of whiskey, here, drink this big ass beer. um, the Native American women for here in North America, they would like the Apache, the Maricopa, and the Pima Indians. They would use the saguaro cactus, and they would ferment that, and they would make that into a drink and essentially a cactus beer. Um, if anybody knows where you can find a cactus beer, comment below and let me know because that sounds really cool. I've eaten nopales my whole life, uh, so I would be interested to try a cactus beer. Um, we talked about before. We talked about how Barack Obama was the first one to brew beer in the White House. On that note, Thomas Jefferson's wife Martha, she didn't brew it in the White House, but apparently she made a mean wheat beer that she would make for parties and whatnot. And um, all of our founding fathers, they might have signed the Declaration of Independence with a glass of wheat beer from Martha Jefferson. So that's kind of cool. Um, Obviously, the Mary Lyle, she was the first female to open. She was the first brewmaster in the 13 colonies before anybody else, and yeah, she was the first commercial brewmaster. So, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of other brewmasters around, but she was the first brewmaster, and she was a woman, obviously. Um, Everybody that's in the beer industry um, has heard of the Pink Boots Society. Uh, they do. They're just like an organization where um, they brew beer, and it's a women led organization, and they do tons of collabs. Actually, one of my first beers that I brewed with a Pink Boots member, and we made a churro stout. It was horrible. We got the grain bill a little wrong, so it didn't come out great. But uh, that's brewing. So sometimes you make a bad beer and you learn from it. But uh, that was really cool. That society's been around for a while. They do a lot of cool stuff. They did a lot of charitable stuff. They do great stuff for women. Just in general, it's a place for women to go learn the brewing industry with a lot of their peers in the industry, and it's just a great place. And I highly recommend looking it up. And especially if you see a beer on tap at your local brewery that's got the pink boots associated with it, I would highly recommend it because I've never had a bad beer that's come from pink boots. Sorry, if I'm just gonna have this beer here, might as well drink it, right? All right. Oh, one little thing. You've all heard of witches. Not we're definitely not going to go down like the Salem witch trials too much, but uh, interesting facts about that is when you think about it. So women, since they were the first brewmasters, um, they would go to the markets and they would make beer for everybody. But if you think about it, when it was made, when you make beer, you put it in a big pot and you boil it in a kettle. But if you but women would be stirring the pot. Um, some people might call that a cauldron. Uh, they would wear really tall, pointy hats. So in a crowd, you could pick out the brewmaster at the market and you know where fresh beer was at. Okay. And then if they were in and they were available, when you got over there, there would be a broom sitting outside of their area. So when you walked up, you would look for the lady with the tall, pointy hat, and the broom would be sitting outside of her little market, and she would be in the back stirring a giant pot full of herbs and spices, and it would give off a smell that most people weren't used to. Uh, Maybe not eye of newt was added in back in the day, uh, but definitely some spices and herbs, and it some spices and herbs definitely give off different smells. Think of all the different hops we have today. That you can have hops that are really dank, you can have hops that are really floral, you can have hops that are really herbal. Um, so yeah, so that's an interesting little take on that if you think about it. Witches are good because witches make beer, and beer is good. Um, all right, now the last thing I want to do is I want to go through like a little, just a list. I wrote down some breweries, but there's I mean, I've got pages of stuff. But I mentioned a brewery maybe I mentioned a brewery near your area. Definitely go and patron these places and give them a follow, give them a like. You know, buy a 6 pack, 4 pack, whatever they got. Some of these you're going to recognize, and you're not going to realize that they were either owned by women or they have had women brewers. Um, Harlem Brewing in New York City, which is a pretty popular one there. Um, you might have heard of Alchemist Beer. That is in Vermont. You have the Bearded Iris, which is in Nashville. I'm trying to get these breweries kind of in regions, so maybe I catch something near your area, or it just gives you a chance to think of like some of these breweries that are near you. Um, Free Range Brewing is in Charlotte, New Glarus. You might have heard of it. Uh, that's in New Glarus. Um, Scarlet Lane Brewing is in McCordsville, Indiana. Um, Flagstaff, Arizona has Dark Sky Brewing, which I mean I've heard of those guys. Austin, Texas, we got Slackers Brewing. Here in Colorado, we have Holidaily, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the largest gluten-free brewery in the nation, and it is women owned, and their beer is awesome. If you are gluten free or gluten intolerant or whatever, they that is a 100% gluten free facility. I had the privilege of going to visit that place in one of my classes, and It's amazing, and the beer's good, and they do seasonals, and they have a huge lineup. So it's not like 3 beers. They have a huge lineup of beers. They're all good. They brew with like buckwheat and sorghum and stuff like that. Um, but they're good. Um, Henderson, Nevada. You might have heard that place. Craft House Brewery. I know you've heard of Lost Coast in Eureka, California, and then I didn't know this. This was fun for me to find out. Was Russian River um, is I believe is co-owned by a woman, um, and that's in obviously Santa Rosa. But Russian River puts out Pliny the Elder, um, tons of beers, great. The Blind Pig, they make amazing beers. And then obviously, I was talking about Lady Justice, women owned, women brewers, great beer, clearly. So yeah, I know that was like short and dirty and quick. Uh, and I will touch on, if I will definitely give call outs anytime there's a brewery that's women owned or something on future podcasts because I think it's very important. I've got kids and I've got a daughter, and one day, whether it's my son or my daughter, and I have a brewery, and I would love for them to take up that mantle and enjoy doing that, because it's a great craft to have. It's not going away. You'll always find beer. Hopefully, it's always good beer, cold beer. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's great to be back. Hopefully, everybody is enjoying the weather. And you know what? Go find your favorite brewery, your favorite female led brewery, and go patron those ladies and show your support. And you know, like I said, it's just beer. Pinkies up, drink up.